back to the FPL BlackBox after party, after show. Would you prefer, Mark?
Oh, sorry.
Call it a party.
Bit of overlap there. I had the YouTube open at the same time. After party, it's the relax, kick back, come backstage with us. You got your backstage
some
pass.
Cigars and some whiskey.
Yeah, I feel a bit more chilled out now, and questions are already coming in. Look, Andy's in the... Is that Andy? All things FPL? No, that's no. What I'm talking about is Let's Talk FPL. All things FPL. We featured them last week. One of their contributors helped us out with some data. Questions are coming in already. We can't keep up with it. I was just going to say, I still don't think I've showed you one team pre-season that you've been impressed with.
No.
Well, you're so harsh.
I've got high standards for you, Mark, and you haven't delivered yet. So it's just going to make it even worse when you inevitably.
It's really making me worried about it because, I haven't honestly picked a game week one team that I'm happy with yet either, and I wonder if it's out. I wonder if I'm just going to have to make do. So it is worrying me. I'm going to do lots of work after this Q&A. Maybe something in this will change my mind. Hopefully,
exactly.
We can help you out with some opinion on your burning questions. So we see what's out there then, as what's going up already.
Yeah, so just if anyone's new to this, this is the session where we take questions. We're genuinely not in this for the money, although it looks like it. It's just if you super chat a question in,
we're more likely to see it. Yeah,
because so many come in. So even if it's like the smallest amount of money that you can spare, it supports the channel as well, and and it means we'll see it and answer it before we go. So I joke about Mark being all in it for the Matty Cash, but. The boy needs new lights.
We need more RGB. Earlier. Yeah, absolutely.
I've got any. Look.
I know. Sort it out, Sort it out.
Yeah, and actually Delia's probably in the chat, and she gave us some money last season for me to get some RGBs, and I didn't. So
get on with it.
I failed. I know,
right.
I should.
Do we have any questions that have leapt out?
We do have Andy. Andy, first question. Let's talk FPL.
No, that's not. Where? Where?
First question. Let's talk FPL. He gave us €2.
Oh yeah,
and he said Son over Mahrez ?
Oh, I'm not seeing that. And why am I not seeing it? I've got different questions to you. Oh, Son over Mahrez ? Right, okay. Do you want to go with that one first?
Well, mine's obvious. I would never consider Mahrez for my team. That's my answer.
You just can't. You just won't go there ever again. Is that the case?
Nope. I'm never going there again. I don't. He's lost all my trust. I just don't think. My biggest problem with Mahrez, like I've said before, is his lack of versatility. I think Pep plays players who are versatile. He can play players at false 9, on the left, on the right, at midfield 8. Jack Grealish is perfect for that. He can play pretty much anywhere. Sterling's good at that. Torres is good for that. Mahrez can only play on the right, which you'd think would cement him on the right, but it doesn't. So I just don't think he's...
I think it does. I think there's not a lot to choose between the two of them. I think if Son was up front, if Kane goes and Son plays up front, I would prefer Son. But if Son's whatever system out on the left or whatever system Nuno's going to play,
he does well on the left anyway. He
does, but I think Mahrez is going to have a really strong season. I look at City and think that I don't see any competition for the right side.
We've said that every year.
I know, but bit by bit, Pep is trusting him more. That's what I've seen. And it was a little bit more last season, and I think it'll be a little bit more this season. To what extent, I don't know, but I'm thinking he'll get 30 games. I think any player that gets 30 games in attack for City will get a lot of points. And, Mahrez, let's not forget, was a 200-point player at Leicester, so he's got it in him.
Yeah, about years and years ago.
Well, not that many.
When he had the full trust of the manager, I would pick Son every day. I wouldn't even hesitate. What, with
Kane not there? And Son playing out wide?
Either. Son out wide isn't suddenly a bad option. Son out wide still got over 200 points last season.
Yeah, I think at the moment it's Mahrez, but I think when Spurs have settled down, when the Kane situation is clear, and either they've got a replacement in, but I just think it's going to be weeks until I'm ready to go for Son. I think, sadly, because he was in my team a couple of weeks back. And definitely in my thinking, but the Kane thing's such a mess. It's messing with my head. I just don't know what that's going to leave, where it's going to leave Spurs. We don't know how it's affected them as a team backstage either. I mean, the pre-season they've been doing all right, so it looks okay.
I'm surprised that you were so into Son and now you're not into Son just because of there's some rumours that Kane might stay. I think even if Kane stays, I still think Son's going to be the main man at the club. I think the new contract he's got is. I think he could actually really kick on from last season, which would be a big step. I think he could hit 200 points again.
Yeah. No, I agree with you.
Quite easily. So
I like him. I've just gone off him in my game week 1 lineup because he was. And the plan was always go with a placeholder for him and get him in game week 2 or 3. So originally it was going to be Havertz and Mahrez and then get rid of one of those two for Son. So I was never going to start with him, but I was always going to get him in game week 2 or 3. And now I don't think that's the plan. So he's not going to be in my starting lineup because he never was, but he was always going to come in for me. But I'm just not sure now. Not sure.
Right, well, there you go, Andy. Hope that cleared it up.
And Andy Andy's done something with Chris Sutton tonight because there's a lot of people saying, "Oh, well done for smashing it." What's he done? What's he done with Chris Sutton?
He's recorded a video with Chris Sutton.
Oh, well,
talking about FPL.
Nice,
unbelievable.
Is that for the BBC 606 fantasy thing they do?
I don't know. It's on his channel.
Oh, that's good.
I'm doing a video with Matt Holland next week.
Are you? Yeah. Lovely man. Yeah.
If you're listening,
enjoy
Matt,
that.
I'm looking forward to it.
Yeah.
FPL Focals, give us a quid. Thank you very much, Mr. FPL Focal. Niels Apples says, in regards to the red arrows and missed charity donations, for each red arrow, let us crowdfund and donate. Yeah, I mean, the initiative, Mark and I are doing the meals charity initiative, but obviously we want as many of you to get involved as possible. So if you wanted to flip it and you wanted to give a $5 for every red arrow you get to counter Mark and I, then, that would be an amazing thing you could do. So, yeah, and it made me feel better about getting a red arrow.
It would. When you said that, it never dawned on me at all. And I'm thinking, oh no, I've let the children down and everything. It's awful, isn't it? I just don't want to. I don't want that in my. Why did you put that in my head? I know. I don't know.
Anything.
Right. All Things FPL says.
All Things FPL.
Yeah.
Yep. Sorry.
He's going to be at Fest, by the way. The guys from All Things FPL.
Yep.
Gundo over Mahrez. See you lads at the Fest. Gundo over Mahrez. No, I don't see it. Gundo's the one who's most under threat from Grealish, right? Is that how we see it?
Yeah, that's how I see it as well. I think Gundogan's still got an important role to play in the City side. I think he offers them, particularly with De Bruyne out, stuff that they don't have anywhere else in the central areas. I think his runs to the box are still going to be invaluable. I think we're going to see, we might even see Grealish dropping back and Gundogan going forward, and I think their partnership could actually be really effective for Man City. But yeah, I'm a bit concerned that there's going to be some rotation there maybe as well, and we don't really know what the landscape is. That said, imagine against Norwich, Gundogan lines up as a false 9, and he has done that before. Yeah, with De Bruyne out.
We can't take anything for granted. This is why I'm surprised you've gone in for Grealish. I do think the only player I think is certain to start in the attack is Mahrez, game week 1. The rest I haven't got a clue on really. Torres could start up front, or he could play Gundogan in the false 9. You're right, and then play Grealish deeper. That's. Or Grealish out left. Yeah, Gundogan in the false 9 could happen, right?
I just don't know who's going to play on the left for City. It's either going to be Grealish or Torres.
Or the lad who's played pre-season. Is it Adozi? Who's looked really sharp.
Well,
he's looked all right. Okay.
Not against Spurs. They're going to have to go with their big guns, I think. And Grealish has now played some minutes. He's been training all week. He looked sharp in the training video.
Yeah, Grealish may start. I expect him to start. I don't know if it'll be left though. I don't know if he left.
Really? My prediction is he starts on the left.
Okay. Let's see.
But yeah, I wouldn't go for Gundogan and I wouldn't go for Mahrez. So neither of them. Hang on, I've lost everything.
Nihao, I think, is next. Nihao Kulkarni.
Okay, Nihao Kulkarni. Tony versus Torres, Gundo or Rafinha. I wish it could be a Fest. We wish you were at Fest as well, Nihao.
Torres.
It's been really good to see you.
I haven't considered Torres really.
Yeah, I did briefly. I thought he was poor in the Charity Shield, though a lot of their team was. And he seems a very short term thing, especially if I think they're going to get Kane. It's Rafinha for me out of those three. I think Rafinha, is a player who we all expecting to kick on again this season and do really well. And it's a decision I'm making. I'm between Tony, Rafinha, and Buendia, and I could end up going for Rafinha. I think Rafinha, and I'm probably going to do a thread of players that I think are underpriced, and Rafinha is obviously the first name that stands out because he should be 7.5 for me.
Yeah. Yeah, it seems mad that I wouldn't get Rafinha in at some point, given how much I loved him last season, and I was an early adopter, and he is 6.5. No doubt he's great value. One of the things I've got to consider when I'm looking at my team still, that's for sure. Right, what else have we got?
Neil's Apple's given us 15 quid.
Because I like cash. You got to stop this because it's just going to start rumours on Twitter, right? That's the last thing I
if
need.
he's getting us cash, keep it going. Yeah.
Yeah, see, you get 50-50. It's unbelievable. Nick Al-Suri says, Robbo likely back in game week 4 and Liverpool have Chelsea in game week 3. Isn't it too much for a squad reshuffle booked in? Yeah, it's true.
Yeah,
and that's why I said
a massive question.
I put Tsimikas in yesterday. I haven't thought about it today. It was a knee-jerk reaction yesterday to the fact that he was a factor. And I haven't had time to reconsider it. But I genuinely think he, at the moment, bizarrely, a 4 million defender is the key to what my team's going to look like on Friday night. I mean, is he nailed for you?
Barring press conferences, saying that he's not ready or something like that, then I think he is. I mean, I just don't think I've got enough interest in Jota or Mane to. I don't trust Jota. I just don't trust his minutes, and I don't really want to go down that route again with him. And I can't see myself paying 12 million for Mane, where we're going to have Lukaku coming in and Kane potentially moving and De Bruyne coming back. So I'm not. I think if you think that you might want to move for Mane or Jota, I think you just can't go for it. You just get Amity, or I think Livramento, the Southampton 4 million is the best one to go for if you're looking for one who has a bit of potential. Because I think you might end up having to do a bit of a squad reshuffle. The key thing with game week 3 for me, and it's the reason why I've got Luke Ayling in my team, is because Ayling has Burnley game week 3.
Oh,
so I can take Tsimikas out and put Ayling in. So make sure you've got an option for game week 3, I think.
Yeah.
And he seems to be the best one.
Yeah, no, I looked at that. It's just for me, if I go Mane, it'll be at the loss of Bruno, and I don't know if I can do that. Having put him back in and got over that humiliation and humble pie that I had to eat, I don't know if I want them to take him out again. Jota, I've had a few drafts with Jota in, absolutely. But I just think going in with Jota and Mahrez is... that's the problem, isn't it? You're two players there who, without question, come game week 3 or 4, you'll have doubts about their start. And with Jota, maybe even before that, right?
Don't you just love FPL that like 3 days before the beginning of the season?
We still don't know.
Tsimikas is now literally deciding the structure of our team. A 4 million left back who's played about 80 minutes for Liverpool in his life. I love it. It's ridiculous. There's no game like. I mean, how could you ever explain that to someone who doesn't like FPL, that we're like agonising over some Greek left back who's never played? It
shouldn't be the case, but I mean, he's having his minute in the sun, isn't he? Well, maybe he's going to emerge later in the season as well, because he looks decent. I mean, Liverpool wouldn't have signed a player who's not going to come on and grow, but. I think we just totally unforeseen this, isn't it? Yeah. FPL Pot Noodles has thoughts on starting with 2 City mids. Would you do that? Would you? I mean, I guess if Foden and De Bruyne were available, they'd be factors in our initial lineups as well. But that isn't the case. So Torres and Mahrez, or Grealish and Torres. I know Mahrez is out for you.
I think it's too much. I think it's too much, given that City tend to start seasons quite slowly. They've got a tough first game on paper against Spurs. I think maybe you could go with one and then look to bring in another one for Norwich, but I think there's too many good options. I think game week 1 to start with 2 City mids. So it's not for me, and I don't know which ones I'd pick either.
Yeah, I think you're right. I think going in heavy on City while they're still getting their best players back is probably too much with the fixtures they've got. If they had easier fixtures, I'd be more inclined, but no. Vader is dead says Alonso getting plenty of minutes here. Reckon he'll start game week 1. They've been mucking around with the wing-back roles, haven't they? They've been playing Hudson-Odoi on one side and Pulisic on the other. So before tonight, Pulisic was my favourite to start. As Alonso started in the Super Cup then tonight, I guess, judging by what you're saying.
But it wasn't Chilwell.
Right.
So
yeah, well, I expected Pulisic to play maybe there, but it must have been Alonso.
It's gone to extra time.
That's it. That's not what they want, is it? That's not what anyone with a Chelsea player wants, to be honest.
Yeah, Alonso started. He's still on. I think. It's quite. I don't know. Only a couple of days now before the start. I will say yes, he will start.
Yeah,
I will say it won't be Chilwell.
I think it's nice. Definitely not going to be Chilwell. No, I just don't see it. So, yeah, I think that there's a good chance he will. But again, it's a 1 week player. It's worse than Tsimikas, isn't it? Because there's no doubt that Chilwell's first choice. So you're going to have quite an expensive. What was he, 5'5", Alonso? I think he is. No, don't see it's worth the risk. Knowing my luck, he'll deliver. I always fancy my chances of getting him in for that one game where he gets a 20-point haul, but It isn't going to be this one, I don't think. Delia in the house. As Delia's in the house, look.
Whoop, 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 whoop. Yep.
Oh, and also,
Hi, Delia.
Dan Scholes, thank you very much for the €10. No question from
It
Dan.
is euros, isn't it?
Yeah, that's a euros
Dan,
from Dan. Thank you very much, Dan. And Delia's given us a $5 and says, feels good to have you two back, Mark. Would you choose Gundo or Mahrez? As get some RGB lights. See you at the fest. We will see you at the fest.
Can't wait for that.
Yeah, again, I like Gundo. I really do. I mean, when you get a player like Lingard and Gundogan last season and Rafinha, when you get them in early and they do the job for you, you think, oh, they're my player now, and I've got some faith in them, and I'll always go back to them. And Gundogan is definitely in that bracket for me. And he's done some bits pre-season that have impressed me, but I'm just too sold on Mahrez for me. But I do think Gundogan will start game week 1, and I wouldn't be surprised if he does pop up with a goal. I think he's a good option, but again, the Grealish thing just casts doubts over where he's going to play and how he's going to fit in long term. I don't understand that. Gundogan doesn't deserve to be dropped from that team. He's too good. I don't know how they're going to put it together.
No, I don't think he will be. Nor do I. I guess it could. Well, no. KDB's obviously in. I think
KDB in the 9, right? It's going to be KDB in the 9, Gundogan and Grealish with Rodri behind, right?
Well, not if they sign Kane.
Yeah, but I don't think that's a done deal by any means, is it?
If they sign Kane, who are the 3 midfielders?
That's
Grealish.
Yeah, that's the problem.
Grealish, KDB, and Rodri, I guess. And Gundogan does miss out.
So difficult.
Yeah. Oh.
Gundogan is such a good player. Yeah. Next one, Az.
Switch Crystal, is Dunk a better choice than Soufal? Not for me. I mean, I think we forget how good Soufal is. I mean, 9 assists in his debut season is unbelievable. He's a proper marauding fullback. I think he's absolute class. I think Dunk probably is our main goal threat, but I would pick a marauding fullback over a semi-marauding centre-back anyway. Yeah,
and I think the Sanchez factor plays into it because going in with 2 Brighton, I think when Brighton have got injuries to burn and without White and without Lamptey, it's a bit much. I think if Brighton hadn't lost White and don't have to reorganise, I think they've got people to come in to replace him, but I want to see them first. I think Dunk can still be a factor in our seasons, even with Sanchez, because at $5 million, it's a good price. I agree with you, Aslo. I think Soufal, I really like him. He should have got 3 or 4 goals last season to go with those assists. So I think he's got. I think he's going to push Creswell quite hard, depending on how the set pieces go.
I like him a lot at 5. I think that's a good price for him. They priced him well with Creswell at 5.5. See, I don't think Dunk will be that big a factor. I think Veltman at 4.5 is superior. Lamptey, I just don't know when he's going to come back or if he's going to come back. I just can't believe he's not over this hamstring thing.
Starting to make me think that Chelsea knew what they were doing when they let him go, whether he had an underlying issue.
But I was reading, I think it was The Athletic posted kind of physio stuff about it, and they were saying because he's so quick and because he's got such a low centre of gravity, he kind of invites these challenges because of acceleration is so quick. Yeah. He puts a lot of strain on the hamstring, and I just wonder if he's going to be the same player or what's going to happen with him.
It's such a shame. He was on the verge of breaking in the England squad, wasn't he?
I loved him. He was being linked to Bayern Munich for 40-50 million. He was one of my favourite players. I think he's fantastic. But I think Veltman's the play. I really do. Right wing back, and I think even if Lamptey does come back, I think there's a spot for him at centre back as well.
Okay, Zovimir Boban. I'm going to be super aggressive first 3 weeks when wildcarding. With that strategy in mind, I'm really tempted by Vardy until wildcard. You know what? I thought about Vardy today for the first time. He's a player who's not come into my thinking at all. And then when I saw the minutes he got in the Community Shield, it made me think there's no question he's first choice. I mean, they've got options now in Nacho and Daka, but I hadn't thought about him until then. And then I started to think, you know what? He's that placeholder for Lukaku and Kane at worst, and at best, he's someone you keep. And Leicester, I think they got Norwich, haven't they? Is it game week 3 they got Norwich or game week 4? Yeah. And you think that's a very good game for him, I think, on the break. So Vardy, I haven't seen in a lot of teams at all. Have you seen him mentioned?
I haven't seen him in a single team or a single anything. I think Barnes is the overwhelming favourite for that. If I was going aggressive for the first 3 games, I think I would fit him in.
Yeah,
I
it's a
think
good
you'd
option.
go with Salah, Fernandes, and Vardy,
And I go Mane as well.
and you
Maybe go Mane.
I'd say Jota probably, because
If you can't afford
early
free.
doors, if you can't afford it, you're going quite a lot. But yeah, I think I would find a way to squeeze Vardy in. I think as the season goes on, we might start to see maybe Iheanacho coming in a bit more and the system changing. And I don't think Vardy's ever going to be like a bit part player this season, but his minutes might be managed a little bit more. He's getting on a bit and things.
Yeah, I think it's his
and
price
Iheanacho
as
isn't
well.
going to happy just be on the bench. Yeah, exactly. But for 3 weeks, I think he's a good pick.
I think they should have made him about 9.5. I think then he would have been a real big factor. But where he is, and the fact that he transitioned as a player who was more about a provider than a goal scorer last season to some extent. So, yeah, I think
he's not 3.5 better than Barnes.
No, not this season, I would say. No. But early season, if you're being aggressive, it's a good pick to go.
You just know he's getting goals. But do you remember this happened last season? No one was considering him, and his early season run was unbelievable. Do you remember all the penalties he kept scoring, just like every week? Like, didn't he have like the worst underlying stats like we'd ever seen in a game week 1?
Well, always.
He got 2 penalties, was it?
Yeah, well, he lived off penalties in the first half of the season, didn't he?
Yeah.
And then really did go for a bad spell where when Iheanacho came to the fore, Vardy just disappeared for it, and then he came good at the end a bit more. He had a very bad spell though. I don't know what was behind that. Maverick, very good question this. Bruno and Barnes or Son and Mahrez? I think that's really tough. Really tough. I mean, a few weeks ago, I had both Son and Mahrez in my thinking. You would go Bruno and Barnes in all day long, right?
Any day.
It's the same price, is it? I take it. That's why the question is 19.
One's got
19.
One's got Bruno in it, and I think Bruno is far superior to Son and Mahrez anyway, just because of his general goal involvement.
I so want the balls to not have Bruno. I really do.
And controversially, I'd take Barnes over Son and Mahrez for the first 4 anyway. So I'd be more than happy with A.
You'd take Barnes over Son and Mahrez for the first 4, would you?
Yep.
No. Mahrez has got the Norwich game. Son has got the Watford game. I think there's points
Barnes
in there.
got the Wolves game and Norwich game.
Yeah, but Barnes isn't yet in that bracket where you go, right, he's a banker for points, I don't think. I think Son and Mahrez are different level to Barnes at the moment.
You wait. Wolves, he is going to bang.
I don't think he's
I've got a feeling in my bones.
I don't think his game is there yet. I think he looks good. And like I said, energy-wise, he looks full of it. But I just don't think his first touch is there yet. Yeah, anyway. Do you want to read the next?
Yep. And Nikhil Suri says, if it's not... I can't even pronounce it. Tsimikas.
Yeah, Tsimikas.
Don't use nicknames. I haven't even got his pronunciation of his yeah, Simi's quite nice, actually. Who is the third Liverpool player? Even if no Bruno is... If you've got no Bruno, is Mane that straightforward a pick? Are we not worried about Jota taking Mane's minutes and vice versa?
Yeah.
No, I mean, I'm not worried about Jota taking Mane's minutes. That's not really something I've considered. I think Jota either plays instead of Firmino or he plays all 4. I think that's more the consideration, right? I mean, Mane's had such a banging pre-season. I don't think he can afford to really
I think Mane's in that
rotated very much.
I think Mane...
Do you?
Yeah, I think he can miss 1 in 5, maybe 1 in 4 even. It depends. When Europe starts, definitely. I only think I was only looking at Mane for the first 2 or 3, and then I was going to move to Son. That was always the tactic. So I do think once Firmino is back, fully fit, there is a danger that Mane misses a game or 2. Yeah, I don't know how much rotation he will get. You're right. I mean, he should be key player, but if he starts slowly again, I don't think he will. I think he'll outscore Salah maybe in the first few weeks. Why have I not got Mane then?
Oh, I know. You keep saying it. You're going to kick yourself.
I know. It's going to hurt.
I'd go Jota as my third.
Would you?
Yeah.
Okay.
I still don't think Mane's worth 12. That's too much.
No, I think it is too much. Should have been 11.5. Ahmed Mosen says, lights look great, Mark. Any thoughts on Mount and Torres? I'm going Mane and Salah and Benrahma. Right, he's got Mane and Salah in there. Yeah. Well, that's what I would be
doing. What you don't have the balls to do.
Yeah, I know he is. He's doing no Bruno. Yeah. Oh God, stop it. Stop it. Any thoughts on Mount and Torres? Torres, I mean, if it had shown me something in the Community Shield, I'd have been more inclined. Now I'm thinking that there's no guarantee he starts against Spurs. I think he probably will. It's going to be him or Gundogan, I think, in the false nine or Torres up front. I think they'll go Mahrez, Torres, and I think Ndozia's play. Is it Edozie, the young kid? I don't think Grealish will play the left.
Really?
Yeah, I think he will play him. Yeah, because he's played a lot pre-season. He's done well as well. He's looked really sharp. I think he'll get his chance, and I think Grealish will play deeper. Or if he starts, Grealish may not even start. That's my thinking anyway. Mount, what do you think about Mount? I mean, he's not really entered my thoughts at all because I was kind of dazzled by Havertz. But when Lukaku is about, Mount is what? Is he 7'5"? Is he 7'5"?
No, he's 7.
He's 7, is he?
He's 7, isn't he?
I don't think he is. I thought he was 7'5". Let me just double check that. He's not. That's how much I've considered him. I'm not even aware of his price.
He's 7'5". He always
I
right
thought
about
so.
this.
Yeah.
He's 7'5".
So
he's 7 on Fantasy, I think.
Is he? All right. Mount, then, do you think he's ever going to like edge his way into our reckoning?
Yeah.
Do you?
He's my pick, I think. I mean, he's absolutely massively disappointing Euros. You know, I think, and it's frustrating that Pep's earmarked Grealish as the 8, isn't it? Because that's where we wanted him to play for England, and Mount was so poor. But like I keep saying, I mean, second most chances created in the league, Mount, last season. And now he's actually got someone who can score with Lukaku coming in. So I think when the game week 7 rolls around and the fixture change, I think it's going to be Mount and Lukaku for me, and then probably Chilwell. They're the 3 that I'm eyeing up. I think he's a better option than Havertz.
Theodore saying Grealish has never played an 8 in his life. Come on, lad, you know better than that. Yes, I've seen him play 8 for Villa against Forest and run the entire game. So he has played 8. Centre midfield alongside McGinn. And they absolutely destroyed us that night. And Grealish was... I remember watching that game because we had Carvalho at the time for Forest, who we thought was coming on as a player. And we were like, oh, yeah, we've got Carvalho, they've got Grealish. Grealish was absolutely outstanding in that game. I think McGinn got 2 goals and Grealish ran the show. After that game, I was like, this Grealish is a special player.
Yeah.
You just saw it. He was just incredible. Just couldn't get the ball off him. And he was just astonishing with his distribution. He can play the 8. He's played the 8 before for Villa. He can play the 8
against Forest.
Yeah, I saw it myself. He was destroying us. Right.
He's got all the qualities to excel there. Like, you know, he's good on the left, but I just think centrally he can do so much more. He can spray the ball out. He can make like direct runs into the box. He can drop deep a bit and dictate play. I think it's tailor made for him to.
Yeah,
to
I just can't imagine him in the City team yet. I can't get my head around what City will be like with him in the team, and how teams can stop them. I don't know, because if they get Mahrez and Sterling or Mahrez and Foden full power on the flanks, and if they get Kane, I mean this is even without Kane. I mean, yeah, just ridiculous.
Kane in the middle.
It's
we live in the fantasy world, not the real world. Sometimes
the thing is, they were doubling up on Grealish at Villa. They're not going to be able to do that against City. So. What are they going to do? I mean, very, very difficult. By the way, all things FPL is John Jiggs, by the way. Sorry, John. Didn't realise that was your site as well. Yeah, I've been paying attention to it in recent weeks, in fact. Steve Elbows, I've discovered it's possible to have Sanchez, Trent, Tsimikas, Shaw, Barnes, Salah, Mahrez, Fernandes, Benrahma, Ings, Antonio, but bench Ultra Sheep. Yeah, Ultra Sheep. Sorry, that wasn't a slight on your team. That wasn't. You haven't got an Ultra Sheep team. Ultra Cheap. Sorry. That was Nick getting to me there. What do you think of that? What do you think of that team? I mean, it looks good on paper. Looks very good on paper.
I'm guessing 2 4 million defenders and a Obafemi. So there's no bench. There'd be no bench there.
Yeah.
I personally, I would not go into this season without one bench option, like a consistent one. And I think Ben White fits the bill perfectly for that.
Right.
I'm annoyed that I'll be annoyed when I don't have 2. I think 2 is the target.
The other thing we haven't talked about is, do you think the COVID situation is going to be gone completely, or do you think that players are going to be pinged and therefore out of action at a drop of a hat, and we're going to have a bit of that? Yeah, I do as well. And that's really been spoken about a lot much. I think we're kind of presuming that clubs are going to take precautions once the season starts, where their players will be kind of wrapped in cotton wool. But these are footballers, these are young men, right? So they're going to get exposed to social situations where they're going to
be going out again. Yeah,
I know. Yeah. So I think we are going to have a bit of that, which is another reason why I think we need a second sub, I would say.
I completely agree. And I think the way I'm thinking after tonight is that I'm not going to have that second sub. I think I'm going to have Tsimikas for a couple of weeks, but I think when game week 4 rolls around, he's not in the team anymore. I'm going to be down to 1.
I know, that's what I'm looking at as well. I don't like it.
Yeah,
don't like it. I mean, Tsimikas is just wrecking our dreams, basically, is what we're saying. Do not like it.
You just know we're going to look back at him and be like, what were we doing?
Yeah, do you remember that time, that Greek fullback? What was his name? And you pronounce it wrong again. Yeah. Andre Lungu, thanks very much for the super chat there. Not sure what amount that is. I don't know what's our.
I like it when it just says 25.
Yeah,
it could be, I always think it could be like $1,000, or it could be
and we just pass over it like that.
5p.
I mean,
it's £4.31 sterling. Thank you very much.
Yeah, that's fine. Niels Apple says, sorry, Mark, it was Bants. Consider this the first snowball for all the Watchers of the Nations to mitigate the red arrows. Everyone knows you like the player, not the money. Come on, people, let's super chat. Yeah, I know, it's all right. It wasn't really getting to me. It's just how...
Neil, stop giving us money.
Don't give me money to say sorry about saying about the money. Yeah, but no, it's fine. I take it on the chin all the time, as is always teasing me about it. Yeah, awful. Do you want to read the next few?
It's what.
And that's what you're here for, yeah, exactly.
MSS Karen Reddy says, Mahrez and Barnes in 3-5-2 or Ings and Grealish in a 3-4-3. That's... I mean, I do like the fact that you've got Barnes in one. I really like Ings and Grealish. I mean, I've got Ings and Grealish. I prefer a 3-4-3 generally because you've got that extra sub as well. So I would favour that one, even though I do like Barnes.
You could wrap Mahrez with anything, couldn't you? Mahrez and Bruno, or Tony and Mbeumo, and you'd still go for Tony and Mbeumo because it's got Mahrez in it, yeah. I'd go Mahrez and Barnes, Max Cowan. I'd go Mahrez and Barnes. I think that's the better combination. But there you go. For early season, anyway. I mean, Grealish, when he settles and when we know what he's doing, could be incredible. No doubt about it. And Ings, yeah, I've got Ings at the moment. I think he's going to be very good for us for the first 2 or 3. But long term, I want to see how Villa set up with Watkins up front as well. I still can't imagine what Smith's going to do. So that's going to be fascinating.
No.
I wouldn't mind seeing a few games before going any other players.
It is actually the 3-4-3 that sways me towards the second there. I do think if you're debating formations, I think 3-4-3 is better. Just because you have that extra sub coming in. You can't put a price on Brownhill.
Apart from 4 or 5. What do you do when mid plays your defence, like Rafinha versus Shaw? Yeah, how do you approach that? Like, I kind of think in game week 1, you don't have to avoid it, but it is kind of like nice to try and avoid that, because people are looking at Batman and they've got Ings and Buendia and but it's Batman long term. I get it, right? But it is a bit of a pain, and when you've got effectively a wild card as you've got now, you don't have to set up to have them there, do you? It's going to happen over the season. It's inevitable, though, isn't it?
Yeah, I don't mind it so much with players like Shaw, because you always got the chance of attacking returns. And almost the clean sheets are a bit of a bonus. I think it's a problem when you've got like Tony and Ben White, for example, because you're not expecting anything from Ben White, and as soon as Tony scores, you're going to get nothing from him. No. So I think if you've got Tony, you don't play it safe and play White. You either bank the clean sheet or you bank the goal for Tony. I do hate the clashes, but it's why you should try and favour the attacking defenders where you can, because then you've always got the chance of returns. And to be fair, White you've got no chance of attacking returns.
No, that's the thing with him. Yeah, it's just not. He's just. I mean, Fofana was a bit like that. Get well soon. But I do think that White is even worse, because he doesn't. Does he even go forward for set pieces? I don't think he does he?
Occasionally, but. He's not. He's so small. Like, he's not a target from corners. He might get like a fluky deflection, tap in type goal.
Lovely player, but just nothing there. Attacking sense. And it shouldn't get to you, and it shouldn't affect your decision making. But sometimes when I look at a weekend's fixtures and the live matches, I think, I've got a defender and a striker in that. So if I can't win, really, I can't.
I think it's right to think though, because your potential's limited, right? Because if your attacker scores against them, then you're not going to get the clean sheet points. Whereas at least if you mix it up, you've got a higher ceiling, as we like to say. I get it. I hate it. I hate the clashes. But like you say, it's inevitable. It's going to happen. It's going to happen eventually. And I don't think you should not get Shaw just because you've got Rafinha. I think it's just part of it. And you get it out of the way game week 1, and then they won't be clashing again. Yeah.
Udit Galati is asking, thanks for all the pre-season and the content. I was wondering when you guys are planning to wildcard this season. Well, it's in place for 7 for me at the moment. because I just like the Chelsea switch, and United's fixtures get tougher then. So the Bruno out to Lukaku looks to make sense, but I don't think Bruno out is going to be easy to do. It's not an easy sell, is it? Which is one of the reasons why I wasn't going to go with him in the first place. What about you, Az?
Yeah, same. I think game week 7 is just really nice. I'm just looking at the fixtures now. Yeah, I mean, Chelsea's run. I mean, just Southampton at home, Brentford away, Norwich at home, Newcastle away, Burnley at home. It's unbelievable. And then you've got Wolves as well with a really nice run. Newcastle, Villa, Leeds, Everton, Palace. And I think we might start seeing Jimenez be back as a factor there. Arsenal have got a good run as well. We might see like Smith Rowe, Pepe might even be a factor. I think, and Leeds as well. So Rafinha and Bamford might come in. So I think there's going to be quite a shift, especially when like Everton, Liverpool, United, these teams are right down the bottom of the fixture ticker. So I think it's perfect time to target it.
And it's like we said, doesn't matter how well you're doing at the time. Don't overlook the chance to jump on form, which is what the fixture ticker suggests there will be for those teams with the wild card. Because the other thing about it is I like to get it out of the way. I didn't like last season. We had that scenario where it was, in my head, it was best to keep it for the bench boost, right? Because we knew it was going to be set up like that, and it was pretty much a disaster. And it was agony, like all the way up to game week 16, because when you're taking hits, you kind of think, I shouldn't be taking a 4-point hit. I should just play my wild card. And it's always in the back of your mind, and for me, it hinders my freedom to take hits. When you get it out of the way and there's no other option but to take hits to get players you want and to make moves aggressively, I'm much more free thinking with that. So I like to get it out of the way. So 7 probably is the latest I should play. I may even play it before then.
7, well, that's it. 7 is quite late. I mean, historically, I mean, to be fair, I'm a little bit the wrong person to ask because I've got off to such bad starts to the season the last few years that I've had to play it early. But ideally, I'd like to not play it until game week 7, but you never know what could happen. An international break game week 3, if I'm like 3 million in the world,
yeah, I know,
then I might have to pull the trigger.
Oh, dear. Why did we play this game? I can see the torturous decisions coming our way.
Oh, it's been such a nice time off, isn't it? Yeah.
I know. Stephen Gallagher, hi guys. I have a midfield 5 of Salah, Fernandes, Jota, Barnes and Benrahma. Very good midfield. I love that midfield.
Yeah.
Is there too much risk with having the latter 3 in the team together? Change Jota to Rafinha or Gundogan in week 2? Yeah, I mean, the rotation risk there is Jota. I don't buy that Benrahma's a rotation risk yet, because like I say, Yarmolenko would probably be the one to make way for Bowen. I think Benrahma might only get 60, 65, 70 minutes, but then Barnes is the same. I don't think he'll get full 90s at the start. So, yes, but I think I'd go for that. I think it's a lovely midfield, and if I could get that and still look at my rest of my team and like it, and I'm going to go straight from here and see what I can do with that. I like it a lot. Yeah, what about you? You think there's a risk there?
Yeah. Well, I love it. Like I say, like the sprinklings of differentials, they're your 3. I think as long as, like you say, as long as you haven't got too many other players, like if you've put in another couple of mad picks, then okay, maybe it's too much. But I think Barnes is going to be a 60, 70 minute man. He's not going to be a 15, 20 minute at the end of a match guy or miss out completely. Jota's always a bit of a gamble, but I think he'll see minutes. He's had a good pre-season and played lots of minutes in there, so I think he'll play. And yeah, I'm not totally sold on Benrahma, but I think I like.
Come to us, join us, join us.
Really, join us. Yeah, yeah. I don't know, but Benrahma's the biggest risk for me out of those 3. But I like him. I think that 5 is a nice.
Yeah,
5.
and the Jota to Rafinha move is what I would exactly do. Yeah, I think that after a few weeks we'll know how Grealish and will fit in City, so we'll have more clues on him. But I think Rafinha's the player that, if he doesn't start in your lineup after 3 or 4 weeks with Leeds their fixtures turning, we'll want him in, I think. Yeah, I really worry about him. I'm worried that I'm going to end up not in a position to get him and he's going to really hurt me and it's not going to feel nice at all. Oh dear. Okay. Miena Sidholm says, hey guys, great show. Any advice on dealing with FOMO? I'm not a fan of Bruno since the end of the season, but that pen against City burned me. Yeah, I mean, I had him for that penalty and I did feel for people because a lot of people got rid. Penalty 2 minutes in. It's like, oh God. Any advice with dealing with FOMO? I suffer from it too. I think we all do, right? And I think it's a very, very difficult thing to get over. And I definitely feel that if I don't go Bruno, that is what's, I do think Bruno will regress a bit this season. I think the penalties will be a factor. I mean, we can't presume that United are going to have the most pens again, right? And he's going to get, is it 9 penalties he got last season or 8? So we can't presume that. And we know there'll be less pens to start with, I think, because the refs will go too far with the ruling. Speculation, but I think that's the way it's going to go. So, plus Sancho's in there to assist more goals and score more goals. So will that change the dynamic a bit? We don't know. We can only speculate, but it's going to change things up. I think there's every chance that Bruno doesn't have as strong a season as last season, and there's every chance Mane will have a stronger one, probably will. So, and then you've got Lukaku and Kane, who we aren't really discussing at the moment because one's not in the game and one's being held at hostage at Spurs at the moment. So, I don't know. How do you deal with it? How do you deal with it? I mean, I haven't found a way of beating it. Not yet.
No, it's hard, right? Because we care a lot about FPL, and we, you know, it's not nice when a player 50-60% owned bangs and we haven't got them and stuff. But I just think, you know, my stance on this is really clear. You've got to play FPL your own way. You've got to make your own decisions. You've got to weigh up all the information that's out there and pick players off it. And if you don't think Fernandes is the player that we saw the first half of last season, you think there's going to be regression, you think you can do more with the money, you will get more enjoyment from that paying off if Bruno doesn't do well than it would if he scores the odd penalty. And you and Werner is the perfect example, because that is something I think that genuinely is going to stay with you for ages. Is you were so against Werner, and you went with him because you were worried about him, and it was completely the wrong decision. Yeah. And if you hadn't gone with it, you'd be feeling just as good about that as if you went for Bruno and he did well and you didn't miss it. I just think it's, you know, you can beat yourself up over loads of different things in this game, but the most important thing for me is playing it how you want to play.
The problem is these players can do a lot of damage to your rank, and I'm going to say it because of effective ownership. It is a thing. It is known out there, right? There is no question that if you go into game week 1 without Bruno, he is going to be the biggest risk to your rank. No question. When you're going in with Luke Shaw, is going to be a risk to your rank, right, because of his ownership. Now, I know it's good to say, well, I'm not going to take that into account, and that taking that into account is a very negative way of playing the game, but it is a way of playing the game, right? You're effectively making a bet, and you've got to be really confident in your alternatives to Bruno to bet against him, I think, because of the ownership. And I am confident in Mane, but the problem is it's just those fixtures turn for Bruno so nicely in 3 and 4. It gives me such a problem, and I don't know if I want to book that problem in, because I know I'm going to have it. Even if Mane flies, Bruno blanks in the first 2. When it gets to game week 3 and 4, I'm going to go, what do I do now? Because I'm faced with Bruno's much kinder fixtures. But you aren't basing that
decision on effective ownership. You're basing that decision on the fixtures turning and you know.
Yeah, I know.
And the potential of Bruno in it. So it's a different argument to saying, I'm just going to get Bruno because he's 50% owned and I'm worried that.
But it is in my head as well. It is contributing, definitely. It's like, play safe, don't do anything silly. That's the mantra of many good managers at the start of the season.
And as always, it depends on your target. And this is what Luke and I have constantly been trying to drum into people's heads over Twitter. If you think there's a trophy for 10k or top 100k and that's what you want for the season, then I think effective ownership is a very, very solid way of playing the game. But if you want to win it and if you want to get into the upper echelons, I think you need to take calculated risks.
I agree.
And I think that's the way to play it. And I think if you've got reasoning to go with something and you genuinely think it's the right thing to do, you cannot let effective ownership sway your decision. You've got to back yourself. Otherwise, you're never going to win it. You're never going to get into those upper areas. You're just going to do what everyone else does, and you're okay. You'll be fine, and you'll finish fairly high. But if you want to go for it and you want to, you know, be a legend, you have to back yourself.
Yeah, but there's 38 game weeks where you can do that. You haven't got to do it with your initial lineup. Is my argument there. So
no, I personally don't think going Bruno out is the play, which is why I've got him and why I've never considered not having him. That's nothing to do with effective ownership. That's to do with the fact that I think he's one of 2 elite players in the game, him and Salah, and they're the 2 that I want to captain over the first 6 weeks, and I can't just see anything that would sway me off that. But if I wasn't feeling like that, then I wouldn't go for Bruno. Simple as that.
Very tough. When I find a cure for FOMO, I'll get in touch with you. But at the moment, I don't have it, I'm afraid. I don't have the answer to that one. Very few of us do. Karan, Jota and Shaw, or Trent and Smith Rowe Benrahma for early season? I think you've got to have Shaw. I mean, I don't agree with what Az came out with tonight for Shaw. I think he's going to hurt you.
Well, you don't think you've got to have Trent?
I think you got. Yeah, I mean, I think both of those really. I mean, if I had to choose one of these, I would go Trent and Smith Rowe. Yeah. Trent. I just think Trent's another level. I really do. I mean, I think you've got to think Liverpool's defence will improve this season with Van Dijk back, and I know Robertson's out for a while, but I don't. Long term, I think Liverpool will be up there first and second defensively. I think this season. And Smith Rowe's a good player. And Smith Rowe's going to come good. Maybe not in the short term. So for early seasons, Jota and Shaw might be better for you. Particularly if you don't go Trent, you can go Tsimikas to cover the points as well, which is the option. So maybe early season Jota and Shaw is the answer, because you don't necessarily need Trent for these opening fixtures with the 4 million option there. Would you agree with that? As Luke would say that, wouldn't he?
I completely agree with that. I think early season Jota and Shaw probably has more potential than Trent and Smith Rowe, because attacking wise, Jota is, you'd expect to get more attacking returns than Trent, even though Trent is like another level. I think it's probably quite close between them. And then I'd back Shaw because the fixtures are better than Smith Rowe. But I think over a more prolonged period, I think I'd back Trent and Smith Rowe.
Okay, as someone who's played, this is Zovamir Boban again. As someone who's played since 2006, I would say early bench boost would be rookie talk. But I'm turning. Would it make Wildcard 2 more long term? Would it make Wildcard 2 more long term? And what's he mean by that, I wonder? Oh, I see. As in, you're going to play the Wildcard earlier and run it longer. You wouldn't be saving Wildcard 2 for the bench boost. Yeah, part of me, we said it tonight in the show, getting bench boost out of the way is not a bad idea, because I'm not convinced that in previous seasons I haven't actually hurt my rank by playing my Wildcard along with my bench boost. I'm not convinced I've ever really... It's like this dream, isn't it? This utopia that, you play the Wildcard before the bench boost, set yourself up, bench boost comes in, everyone's happy, 200 points. It's never really happened that way, for me anyway. And we're going to do it again this season, aren't we?
Yeah, I mean, I've had one success story with it, which was I had Delafeo on my bench, and he got 2 goals. I think the other players all blanked. I would just love to get it out of the way, and I think having the second wild card to target, your first 11 and just have a regular bench.
Yeah,
I think we do underestimate that, and I would go one step further than you and say that I can say with some degree of certainty that most seasons the bench boost has affected my rank negatively because I've had to build it towards getting a 15 out. So, yeah, I don't know. I like the early bench boost. I think honestly, I'm not just saying it. If there was a 4 million goalkeeper, I honestly think I'll go for it.
Wow.
But there isn't.
Okay, and then Zovmir's here with one last question. There's fair obsession with Game Week 1, but should we not have at least 1 to 2 City ahead of Game Week 2? Remember Sterling's first game of the World Cup? That Norwich fixture, yeah. Do you not fear it as not having any City? Right.
I've got Grealish, haven't I? Got my Grealish boy in.
And you think that'll cover it, yeah?
Well, I'm in two minds. My first mind is that I don't like feeling like we have to have a player in for one fixture, because often we see that you shake your whole team up to bring in one player and it fails. I mean, Kane v Cardiff is that just always stays in my mind, because that was like such a lock for Kane to score, and he blanked in that. And I took a -8 to get Kane for that game. Captain, and it was thinking. And then, City's games around Norwich aren't that easy. I think they got Arsenal afterwards and Spurs before. They start slowly as well, City, like I keep saying. So Norwich are pretty bad, but I do think even if City go mad in Norwich against Norwich, it's not going to kill you. I don't think the ownership of their players is that high. Grealish is the highest owned, I think, at 30%, which could hurt. But I think a lot of those players are, I don't want to use the word casual, but the fact I haven't seen him in too many Twitter teams tells me that it's a lot of the less.
And the other thing is Salah's the captain in Game Week 2 against Burnley at home, so I don't think many with Salah will go captain on City, will they? So I think we avoid.
I think that's the thing with City as well, because there's so many players, and because there's so much, the points are just going to be shared at this point. It's not like they've got a Kane or a De Bruyne. I don't know who's going to get the points. Mahrez, Grealish, Torres, Sterling, Gundogan, all these guys could register big calls. They could all get it.
It's an unknown, isn't
it? It is an unknown. So I personally don't think you need to stress about it too much. And we can afford to wait and see a bit and see, survey it a little bit and see who's standing out.
I agree. I think Mahrez is the only one who's going to play and could go mad, but that's about it. I don't think we can go Gundogan, Torres and Grealish and go, any of those can get double figures. I think Mahrez is in that bracket because he's got hat-tricks before, but I don't see it with any of the others. So I think you're okay. Last one that got in before we finish. Namu says, I've got a mid with Barnes, Jota, Son, Bruno, Salah, and defence with Shaw, Soufal, Tsimikas, and a forward of Ings, Antonio, weak bench, 2 times 4 million defenders from the yep. Could I get wrecked? Plans to move Jota,
Yes.
Ings. Yeah, I mean, you're going to have problems because obviously you've got no bench there, and we've already talked about the value of having at least 1, possibly even 2. So I wouldn't advise it personally. I think you need to have players on the bench who you don't mind coming in, because by game week 2 and 3 we could have players missing through COVID, and obviously there's injuries and suspensions as well. Plus we don't know what the game week team sheets are yet, right? We're just presuming that those players you mentioned are going to start. There's no certainty. There's always 1 or 2 surprises when the team sheets come out and people disappointed, and then it's like, who have you got first sub? And it's like, you don't want it to be Ben White really, but you want it to be better than that. But a lot of people are going to go in with not even that. That's the problem, right?
Yeah, I just wouldn't do it. I think if I had that team, I'd be looking to move down one of Barnes or Jota down to a 6-5.
Yeah.
So a Buendia, a Tony, a Rafinha, maybe even a Harrison at 6.
Benrahma.
And then Benrahma, exactly, and then upgrade the bench.
All right.
That'd be my advice.
That's it. I think I've done enough to sell Benrahma to the community. But they're all taken off without me anyway, so it's fine.
What is his ownership in the game? I bet it's like,
It's gone up a bit.
I'm gonna guess 3%. What are you gonna say?
Yeah, it's about that, I think. Let's have a look. Is in my team still? 4.5. It's going up.
It's
going up.
It's high, yeah.
I think it's a lovely little differential. I've bet you in all the differential articles written this weekend, he's one of them. Bet you. Any money you like. Yeah. So, thanks so much for joining us for the Q&A. We're going to do these. We're going to do these probably every other week rather than every week, because but we are going to start at 7 on a Wednesday every week. I know it was 7:30 tonight, but that was my fault. Although as was eating his fish cake still at 10 to 7.
I was, yeah.
All right. Okay. Thanks for joining us for the Q&A. Thanks for joining us for the show. And we'll see you next week when, thank God, the deadline has passed and we can just get on with playing this game properly. See you at Fest.
See you all at Fest. Yep, absolutely.